want to get too complacent. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the March 3rd service of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Grand Traverse. This is a little different. My name's Dan Tholen. I'm coordinator for today's service, member of the Sunday Services Committee. Welcome to all of you online, wherever you are. It's wonderful that you can join us today. Thank you, everybody, for coming in today. Well, it's March, huh? Kind of came in like a lamb, but February sure left like a lion, didn't it? A little reminder, next week, plan a little extra time to get here. March 10th is when it starts. Those of you on the south or the east, you're going to need a little extra time. Anyway, get ready. What was that? And a time change also. On the same day? Glad I'm not coordinator. Okay, thank you. Yeah, the time. Oh, man. Okay, are there any visitors with us here in Sanctuary today? Yes, if you're comfortable, stand and introduce. We have a microphone, I think. Right there, Jeff.
We're Mike and Addie Husband from Elk Rapids.
Elk Rapids, welcome.
Hi, I'd like to introduce dear friends of ours. They've been friends since college, so a long time. And this is Gretchen and Victor Marshall, and they are visiting this weekend, and they are longtime members of the Universalist Unitarian congregation in East Liberty, which is south of Jackson.
Welcome. Very nice. Thank you for coming. Any others? All right. For those of you here in the sanctuary, remember, if you have any joys or concerns you'd like to share with the congregation, we have a note over here, next 10 minutes or so. If you can enter it there, we'll read it a little later in the service. So today's topic, you can see, is a little different. We're going to have some fun today, I hope. It's a little bit of a coincidence for me. A few weeks ago, Nan and I went to the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Boise, Idaho, and they had a little fidget shelf, much like is outside our door right now, where little things you can gather and bring in. And this isn't just for children, it's for anybody, because we recognize that some people think better, or remember better, or focus better when their hands are busy. So that's what we have out there. But I came back and showed Alex this cool thing from Boise, and he said, well, guess what? And he showed me the box of stuff that he'd already got for today's service. So we were thinking on the same lines. I know for myself, I don't fidget, but I do doodle, and when I'm listening, and I take notes when I'm listening. And I've talked to several other people for whom just having your hands busy is tied to their ability either to focus or to learn. Therefore, seems to me, there's a connection in there between your hands and how we learn, and also maybe into meditation. I don't know. Fidget activity might be the main focus of what you're doing. It's not something so that you can focus on something else. Maybe you're making something, as we see here with the yarn. So there's a lot there, and I'm glad we're going to explore it some today. So we'll get on with it now. If we could have our centering music. Julie?
Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here with us this morning, all of who you are. I'm Reverend Alex, the senior minister here at UUCGT. I use he and him pronouns. And this Sunday, we're doing things a little bit different, or maybe a lot bit different. I hope that you brought your doodle pad and knitting. I got some claps over there, so seems like we're in good attendance here. So I hope you brought your doodle pad and your knitting to this Fidget Sunday, a Sunday that we're intentionally trying to do this whole thing of church a little bit differently. Perhaps you grew up in a religion or faith that told you there was a right way to be, or one way to be in the worship service, that you were to sit still and be seen, but not heard. That after trying with all of your might, you found that you really can't just sit still. That you find you even listen or understand better when your hands are moving or at work, at a margins doodle or weaving threads in and out. Or perhaps it's not your hands, but it's your feet, tapping along to the music or wiggling your toes to help you fully be present here and now. We all know that there are many among us with other sensory needs as well. Those of us who are neurodivergent or have accessibility needs in order for us to fully show up in this space. Well, folks, we're disrupting church today. We're not going to settle for the ways or traditions of how it's always been, especially the harmful and painful messages that we've received about who we could be or what we could do in this space in order to fully belong. As we join in worship together, please know that all of who you are is welcome here. You are free to fidget, to move your body, to draw and color, to stand up and breathe, to nod along and respond as you feel moved. Together, we're here to both take space and make space. Our container for worship is dynamic and changing. Today, we endeavor to do something new. So bring your fullest self here today, honor your needs, do what you need to do in order to be fully present here. Know that who you are is enough. And so come, let us worship together this morning.
Okay. The chalice flame represents many things in our faith. It shows the unity with the others in our Unitarian faith. It's always adapting to the service at hand. It's always providing a focal point for us to gaze at while we listen and reflect during our service together. Today, let the flickering flame be a fidget of focus for our eyes and help us grow together. And let the rhythm of the singing bowl be a brief fidget for our ears, pulsating in harmony with the flame's flicker in our eyes to relax our thoughts and receive today's messages. Okay, again, rise as you're willing and able for our hymn.
So if you would rise, we're going to do a fun bit for our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. It's number 361 in your gray hymnals. I have a particular tradition with this hymn that we've done here before that I want to share with you. It comes from Wayland, Massachusetts, the congregation that I served as intern minister before coming here. And the tradition is that when we get to the words, "Today will be a joyful day," on the word joyful, you're going to, let's see, I'll come around over here. You're going to rise up on your toes. So it'll be, "Today will be a joyful day." Can we practice that? Today will be a joyful day. So if you're ready to enter, rejoice, and come in, I think we'll go ahead and do so with our opening hymn.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Now is the time, my friends, to bring out your kazoos for our children's song of benediction. But before we do that, we're going to do a children's song of blessing this morning because the children are actually blessing us by staying with us this morning. And I want us to think about the words of this song a little bit. You know, we sing it every week, or you all sing it every week. I'm dragging the kids out the door. But we sing it every week, but do we really think about the words? And do we think about beyond, you know, the children, how they might apply to ourselves? I was thinking about it this morning, and we tell them, go in peace, go in joy. And then we say to embrace life's wonders. And maybe this morning, as we're fidgeting and playing and indulging our inner child maybe a little bit more, maybe we could think about embracing life's wonders a little bit as well. So, kazoos at the ready. Here we go.
Go in joy, go in peace to lead the day. With open hearts embrace life's wonder. We will rise to love you on your way.
Well, we take a pause here for a commercial interruption. Okay, I'm back. This time I'm back as president of the Board of Trustees, so listen up. As you know, we're coming into the third and final week of our annual budget drive. As of today, as of this morning, we've received 31 pledges totaling $100,050. Now, this compares quite poorly with the 108 pledges we have for the current year and our goal of 250,000. So, that we need to continue our operations. Anyway, I hope that many of you are just slow in getting in your pledges the way I was for many years. But we do need to finalize the budget soon. We need to make our decisions for what we're going to be able to do next year. So please, if you intend to pledge, do so today or tomorrow. Do it right away. Don't wait till next week. On Tuesday, the finance people will be looking at the pledges we have, and we'll be handing out names to a committee to make the phone calls. That just to ask, do you intend to pledge? And then if we can get an amount, that would certainly be useful. Now, I'm on that committee. And because I'm not so excited about it, I've been told by my boss to practice. So we're going to try here to see what happens. Oh. Chrissy?
Hello,
Chrissy?
Hi, what can I do for you?
Well, I just warned you. I'm calling just to see if you intend to pledge this year.
Oh, I got it. It's right here. It's right here. And
Never
you
too soon.
got it off last week. Can I bring it up now?
Please do.
Oh, wonderful.
Watch your step.
Oh, no, don't move, don't move. There we go. There's my pledge.
Okay. You get the idea. We have the forms out there. The box is here. If you get a chance before you leave today or tomorrow, like I say, please. There we go, Beth. Well, we're up to 35 now because there was one in there already. So we're still at about a third of what we were hoping for. So again, thank you. If you get a chance, get it in here right away, please. This will, we work a lot as volunteers and making all those phone calls. You're not going to want to get them, and I'm not going to want to make them. So, but we will have a nice talk anyway. So. There we go. Now we're going to have a short video with some testimonials of what some members feel about their membership in UUCGT.
I grew up in Catholic church, and that community, that church community, was a big part of my life. I realized that wasn't where I needed to be. So I kind of felt lost for a while.
Third grade, I went to Lutheran school, was baptized Lutheran, but never really felt connected with the church. I felt like an outcast.
Mark encouraged me to go with him to a UU service one Sunday. I just loved the love. Like, I just felt so loved.
My husband Brian and I moved here a while ago, and we both knew that we no longer wanted to go to a specific religion. And when we came, it was that combination of everyone just feeling, felt very welcoming. I'm going to just say soul satisfying.
What brought me here was the Sarasota Unitarian Church. When we kind of realized this was not going to be something we could do forever, and we ought to look at our home base in Traverse, our commitment, I think both my wife and I were, we liked it down there, now let's create it where we live.
Bob and I came to Traverse City from Ohio. We were up here for quite a while, then we had a child. I always have had a sense of spirituality. I've always had a sense of awe with nature. I think I was finding out that I really did not like the God thing.
This community can fill that void or that hole that so many people have. They just don't know about that it's there, or they had a bad experience. It's a best kept secret.
Creativity Matters group, I've been able to go to that. It's a way of exploring sort of spiritual themes through creativity. The kind of listening that we do with one another has not been something I've experienced in any other group.
I come out of more of a Buddhist background. I believe that any improvements we make in our lives begin with ourselves. I'm not really a joiner a lot, but I would classify myself as a friend of this church and a very ardent supporter. I really like the sermons.
And the very first service I ever saw was Kevin Tarsa talking about what it was like to be gay. This is freedom. This is the freedom to talk about who you are. I really appreciated the choir, and that created a place for me to feel that I could be a part of something. I mean, there's people in that group that I've known almost 40 years.
We vibe with Alex. That's why we had Alex officiate our wedding. We're a little biased. We love Alex very much, and the congregation is great. So
the main thing that matters to me in a congregation is just the sense of community. There's a sense of respecting each other. It's this open, friendly, curious kind of sense that I get amongst people. I'm just super impressed that the congregation is where it is. The fact that it has been alive for 60 years is really impressive.
It was the nightmare that I'd always said, no, I will never do a solo because they will throw tomatoes at me. I had I think a maybe 7-word solo and I could feel the nerves creeping up my back. Everything flew out of my head. And I looked out in the audience. What I saw were people who wanted me to find those words. I was so cared for. I felt overwhelmed and undeserving. And the same thing happened when Bob died. I'm so glad I'm there.
I enjoy the coffee times very much, although I think they're getting a bit crowded. It's just accumulation of feeling warm and comfortable and liking the people you're with. I see this group of spiritual seekers as an organic thing that just keeps growing.
Thank you, Alex, for putting that together. It's good to have young people that can do that stuff, right? I never could. Okay, you get the message. Thank you. Thank you for your pledges. But now, while we're on the topic, your pledges are, of course, essential, but that can be paid later. This part of the service is about here and now, the ongoing need to support our operations and our actions in the community. There are two sides to the basket. One side for the congregational activities and one side for our outreach to the community. For those of you at home, we have options for giving on your screen. Thank you all for your generosity.
You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do, oh Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says
It is our practice as a community each week to have a time to share our joys and concerns, the milestones and moments of our lived experience that we just know that we must share with one another when we are gathered, things that are too large or too important to us to just be held on our own hearts. I'll be sharing a few of those that have been offered up for us to hold as we are gathered. If you have a joy or concern that's a bit too tender to share in our service, you're always invited to light a candle over here to my right, or to simply reach out to myself or to a congregational care team member, or to hold it on your heart as you are held in our love today. Nobody is ever meant to travel life's journey alone. And so here is what has been offered for us to hold, if you would join me in holding these on your heart. From Emily Mitchell, to acknowledge the death of the coolest, kindest uncle anyone could ever have. He was a longtime UU in Palo Alto, California, and was the steadfast editor of their bulletin for nearly 30 years. We hold your uncle today. Carl and Lauren will celebrate 53 years of wedding bliss on Wednesday this week. Congratulations, Lauren and Carl. From Mary Van Valen, remembering the life of my middle school science teacher, Carl Scheffler, the lifelong learning that I especially appreciate is he was my swimming instructor in the summer, an awesome life remembered. And happy 5th birthday to Isla. What is it? Isla, I'm sorry, Isla. Happy 5th birthday, Isla. And now let us hold a moment of stillness for the concerns and joys that remain on our hearts. We've been doing a lot of getting up and moving around in our service. As you feel called, I invite you in this time to center yourself for a movement meditation. This can either be done standing up if you'd like, or if you'd rather be seated there in your chair or on a cushion or on the floor. However you would like to be most relaxed in this time, I invite you to either rise or just be and join me in this time of meditation. Find the position for your body that just feels the most relaxed. And allow your feet to settle on the floor if you're seated, or to put your weight, just kind of where your shoulders are resting, right above where your feet are. In this meditation, we're going to move into 4 different dimensions of presence, of being in our bodies. And so let's start by drawing our attention to the dimension of length. Your up and down, the dimension of your worth and dignity. Loosen parts of yourself that feel some tension, your eyes, teeth, jaws, your shoulders, your belly, your hips. Find those tension places and either give them a squeeze or some kind of movement or wiggle to just loosen them now. See if you can also stretch your hands up high, feeling your hands up high outward, and feel your body stretch and loosen and lean into your length. And just hold that for a brief moment. Let's now balance side to side, putting our hands at our side. We're going to be leaning into the dimension of width. Often we're driving or we're typing on our computers with our shoulders in close like this, and we pull them in tight. And when we do this, we even pull our hearts a bit backward. So let's try to just lean in and open our chest up a bit, feeling a sense of your body's width. Open your shoulders, allow it to just spread out, resting at your sides with your hands, palms open. Width is our social dimension. It is reflecting our beingness with others. Feel your own width and all of these connections to those around you. All of our connections, feeling our width. And now bring your attention front to back. This is your dimension of depth. So often our attention is forward, where we can see our vision. See if you can feel the clothes on your back, the feeling of the back of your head, your neck, Maybe the back of your calves resting against the seat. Depth can include the teachers and ancestors who have shaped you, the pieces or parts of your story that make you who you are now. I just invite you to spend some time in that dimension of depth and just notice what comes up for you on your mind or on your heart. If it feels comfortable, sometimes we can locate depth right here, putting your hands right at your belly. Just feel your depth this time. And lastly, we're going to go to this place within where all of these dimensions coincide. Your length, width, and depth, the place where those intersect, a centeredness in which you feel fully awake and alive, where all these dimensions meet. This fourth dimension of our being is our place of purpose and our commitments, who we know ourselves to be. See if you can pinpoint this place on your body and place a hand there, or simply draw your attention to where you feel all of these dimensions coinciding. Length, width, and depth. And just remember this feeling. A place that you can return to when you are stressed or frazzled. Allow yourself to just notice this place and breathe again deeply 2 times as you just notice this feeling. And then when you're ready, join us back here in this room. Blessed be. Let's now sing our song of response, Spirit of Life.
Our reading this morning is by C.B. Beale. I don't know much else about it, but we'll see how it goes. Nan and I are going to work on this. Children, if you can listen, this is about you. These are rules for children in the worship service. There are rules. Okay. Okay, here's rule number 1. If you find that you're sitting in front of a child and they can't see, lean to the side. Number 2, if the children seated behind you are rustling papers, hand them a crayon. All right. Number 3, if there's a baby crying, offer to take the baby from their parent and walk to the back of the church and rock the baby for a while. The parent really needs a break. Number 4, if teenagers are whispering, give them some Smarties. The rustling and crinkling will replace their whispering. And number 5, if an adult complains about the noisy children next to them, offer to trade seats with that adult and then apologize to the parents of the children.
6. When a child is running around giving everyone high fives during the time of greeting your neighbor, make sure to give them an extra fun high five. Then high five the next 5 adults you see.
All right.
7. If a child has worn tap shoes to church and is dancing on the wooden floor, slip the sheet music for the entertainer to the pianist. Eight, when the children can't hear because an adult around them won't take off their puffy jacket and it keeps squeaking and distracting the children, offer to help them take off their jacket and go hang it up where it belongs. 9, when the child insists on standing on the front pew, turned backwards, and looking at the rest of the people, give the child some very dark glasses. This will prevent the child from catching any adult's eye, which would lead to distracting them. This will protect the adults, who, as we know, have very short attention spans and are easily distracted. And number 10, when the child in front of you is very squirmy, and then they finally turn around and you realize suddenly, oh, it's Jesus. Take it in stride and play Got Your Nose till he turns around to the front again. End.
One of the ways that I fidget during services is that I will often nod in agreement in real time as I'm listening. And perhaps it's all those years of active listening or the other bits and pieces of becoming a minister, all that training you go through. But even before ministry, when I was a teenager at my home UU congregation, I remember how I would nod along and just engage with what was being shared, sometimes even adding a or as I did so. And I noticed feeling really self-conscious as I listened along. When I'd look around me, I'd notice just the vast majority of the congregation sitting quiet and still, and maybe with an occasional nod or chuckle here and there. But even so, I decided that I would just accept that this was my own way of engaging with the service. That this way of listening and really feeling what was being shared was my genuine way of listening and internalizing the service beyond just sitting still. I noticed that I still find myself nodding along and mming, from time to time when I'm really tuned into something. And I remember feeling just so worried about how I was showing up, how others might find me weird or strange with how I listened along. And it was a helpful lesson to me in accepting that this was my way of feeling the Spirit, of actively taking in the music or words and expressing how they were landing with me, a spirited way of listening that I did in order to fully listen. So this Sunday, with our Fidget Sunday, you've likely already noticed some differences with today's service. I don't know if it was the kazoos or maybe that fidget cart out front as you walked in, but today is intentionally different in trying to be something other than this culture that we've inherited with our Sunday services. A culture of sitting still and keeping quiet, refraining from any and all emotional expression, as if to take up any space in the room would transgress our shared feeling of worship. I want to be clear that our worship space is both dynamic and flexible. That here, where we encourage one another to be our brightest and fullest selves in this place, we need to be brave, bold, and vulnerable enough to take up some space and do what we need. If we're serious about being a different sort of community, we're going to need to change some of the ways and norms of our being, or we risk growing irrelevant and stagnant, as most organized religion has become in recent years. But here's a bit of a spoiler alert. People know what going to church is like. The popular narrative in mainstream white society is exactly as I told you. A place where people come to sit down and be still. A place of repression and forcing yourself into molds and boxes that are not authentic. In actuality, a place of fear over what others think and how they will judge you, and trying so hard to do all of those right things in order to be accepted. Friends, that sounds like a terrible church to belong to. And it's exactly the opposite of the kind of community that we're trying to create here. There are many ways of worship that look quite different from the waspy mainstream norm that we UUs have inherited. That's probably not news to you. Spaces and communities of color where people actively respond to the service, where talkbacks happen even right as the preacher is talking. Spaces in other denominations where a hearty yes or amen are welcomed. Barney, I don't know if you're here today, but I'm thinking of you, my one guy that often gives me an amen. Not to mention our UU youth spaces that do worship in a circle with a chalice at the center, a space that sees one another as equals and encourages us to create a brave and vulnerable space together, a format quite unlike the hymn sandwich style of worship that so many congregations perform each week. That's a joke for one of you out there, the idea that our worship conforms to this style where service elements are just interspersed between music and hymns as markers and transitions for the service. Hymn sandwich, you learned that here. You see, if we're wishing to build a diverse, multicultural Unitarian Universalism, we need to create spaces in which different forms of worship and engagement can happen. Spaces where people of other modes of engagement can feel fully welcomed to be here with us. Where those inner voices of judgment and worry can be calmed by the assurance that this truly is a radical space where we don't actually judge one another. Where we focus on ourselves rather than worrying about what the person next to us is doing or how their method of engaging or fidgeting is breaking the rules. We need to challenge the white supremacy culture of worship that we continue to find in UU spaces. We need to disrupt the narrative that church is just a collection of old people who all believe, think, and do things the same way. Is that what a church is? No. A community that our children and youth and young adults who very much don't enjoy a sit down and be still service find themselves in and actually want to participate in. Amen. I know that amen. I know there are some of you who do need quiet and contemplation, who do find it hard to focus when there's too much noise or movement, who come to services to find a stillness in the fullness of life, a refuge in the midst of a busy world. But I'm wondering how we can meet all of our needs by truly welcoming ourselves to be vulnerable and real. How might we be able to hold space for both while not taking away from one or the other? Holding the wide spectrum and variety of needs, as many as there are people in this room, what would a community look like that endeavored to really travel this hard path of connection and inclusivity? I think we need look no further than our young ones and those who are young at heart for pointers on how we might do things differently. I think kids are our resident fidget experts, wouldn't you agree? With the reading that Nan and Dan shared, how did it feel for you to receive that? Did you find it funny and hopeful? Maybe even challenging, disrespectful? What I love about this piece by C.B. Beale is that it directly challenges this predominant culture in which we put so many expectations and rules on our kids. I love C.B.'s fearlessness in basically saying that in order for us to be different from the traditions that say to quiet down and sit still, we really need to follow our kids. Raise your hands. How many of you were ever a child once? I should see all hands. Maybe you're even a child now. Raise your hands. And how many of you squirmed about at some point, or found it hard to be quiet or sit still, maybe even an outburst of joy or excitement from time to time? The truth is that we have all been there. We've all been squirmy, fidgety kids at some point in our lives. Some of us have even been parents and raised children and know the impracticality in expecting a kid to be silent and still for an entire hour. It's just not going to happen. We ought to remember all of this to create a space in which children and parents don't have to feel hyper-vigilant or worried of what everybody else thinks. A space that can be brave and bold enough to withstand a crying toddler or the side conversations of teenagers. We can't expect to impose these hefty expectations on ourselves and then expect that these folks will still want to come back. This needs to be a space and safety, and refuge for folks like that as well. A space where people of other sensory needs and abilities can really find themselves here in the fullness of who we are. That is radical, inclusive community. So to close, I want to invite you to do a couple of things, and this may be troubling for some of you. First and foremost, I want you to worry about yourself. Also translated as mind your own business. If you are angry, annoyed, or disgruntled by this service, or whatever your neighbor is doing next to you, you've actually got some work to do on focusing your energy in other productive ways. Worry about yourself, but also hear that as looking inside to find what it is that you need or are missing, and what you need to do in order to fully show up and be present, but not to show up and judge other people. That is not the point of what we're doing here. For all of us, I invite us to bring our fullest selves, to hold nothing back and to do what we need, to nod along and shout yes or amen if that's how you feel moved. Can we practice that a little? Oh, you can do better than that. You can do better. I heard a yes queen and I love it. Do not be afraid about what others think. Bring your fullest self and know that who you are and all of who you are is welcome here. Together, we can create a truly radical community. A community that does something entirely different from what the wider world tells us we must do in order to fully belong. And so I say, may it be so, and amen. Amen. And now we've come to enjoy a brief moment of silliness. Feel free to jump out of your seat, to stretch maybe, make a silly face or sound. Whatever is calling you in this moment, let's have a brief moment of silliness. Woo! Oh, I love you all so much. This is great. I think we need a little guidance from our friends here on how to do the hokey pokey. What do you think?
Some of you like to help me do the hokey pokey? You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out, you put your right hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Left hand! You put your left hand in, you put your left hand out, you put your left hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself about. That's what it's all about. Right foot! Put your right foot in, you put your right foot
Well, there you go. Okay, our flickering, flaming fidget can be released now. Its light has served its purpose to guide our service today, to uptake the messages, and center our time together. Like any favorite fidget, we'll keep it close until we need it again.
I'm fidgeting like a natural. I just have some really quick announcements to share. Firstly, that the Social Justice Action group is setting up a table out there in the social hall. They had one there last week. This week, they actually have some paper fortune cookies with some fortunes in them for you to come check out. So I'll leave you with that mystery and invite you to go get your fortune at the Social Justice Action table, especially to learn about how to support the election coming up. And after the service today, we have an orientation to learn about the pathway to membership, how to get more involved here at UU. We had a little bit of a schedule conflict, and so we also have this RE visioning thing happening, which is really, really exciting. And so if your parents and children are, if you're wanting to go to that, please go to the RE visioning where there's going to be pizza and a lot of other fun things. And we can always just do a different orientation for you at a different time. So please know that. And then our next new member service is coming up on March 17th. So if anybody is interested in becoming a new member, let Chris Lautz know, and you have a little bit of time to get some of those requirements done. We're going to now do probably the most still moment in the entire service, and rise as you feel willing and able, and either join hands or outstretch your hands as the sign of please don't touch me. And just feel your connections in this room. All of you online, feel your connections to us in this room here and out to you. And in the spirit of covenant, community, and commitment, in the spirit of bringing our fullest fidgety selves, may we be made ready to serve one another and create the world we so desperately dream of. Go in peace, pass a little squeeze. Amen. And we'll see you later. Enjoy your Sunday.